And thank you for the intro. There we go. Thank you for the intro, Gardner. I appreciate everybody's time and attention this morning. I know it's a busy day. I would argue that the actual business starts now and not after this, because this leads to pretty engaging content. But we're excited to talk about how automation and candidate experience can impact the recruitment process. And if we can help everybody in the room narrow some of the gaps or challenges that you have, we'll look at the next 30 minutes as a resounding success. I am head of sales and marketing here at FactoryFix. We are about a 5-year-old startup technology that has decided to make manufacturing its one single industry that we want to support. We have a talent network of over 700,000 manufacturing workers coast to coast, and then some automation technology that makes it really easy to engage. And a lot of our customers love the fact that they're saving time and saving money and connecting with new workers through our pool. I'm fortunate to have a couple of our customers and good friends at FactoryFix joining me today. We have Brian Powers, Associate Manager of Talent Acquisition from Niagara Bottling, and Alejandra Lopez Diaz from Niagara as well. She is a talent acquisition lead on a lot of manufacturing roles from production all the way up through a lot of the skilled work. So we'll do formal introductions, and I will invite them to tell us a little bit more about what they do. And I'm going to share my screen. We've got some visuals. Gardner, I don't know if you want to ask any questions before we kind of get into some of the content that we've prepared, or we're ready to kind of roll.
Why don't you take it away, and then we'll, I'm sure we'll have questions that are generated from this. So we might interrupt you and jump in.
Cool. And thumbs up if you can see my screen.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs are up. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll get started with Brian. So Brian, I want you to just give a quick introduction, talk a little bit about your background in recruiting, specifically here in the manufacturing industry, and tell us a little bit more about what you do at Niagara.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much for that. So again, my name is Brian Powers. I've been in the talent acquisition field for about 21 years or so. Many years of that have been in the manufacturing, everything from semiconductors and manufacturing in the tech field to aerospace manufacturing, building materials manufacturing, and of course now working for a company in manufacturing in the food and beverage business. So I manage a very small team of recruiting professionals out of our corporate office as well as remote. We do support many hiring teams under the HQ roof, whether that be our own departments in HR or IT, but then we support a lot of our traveling engineering roles that support our manufacturing plants, every type of STEM position out there, food technologists, manufacturing and technology engineers, so on and so forth.
And in those 15 years, to say that the market has changed, the talent market has changed is probably an understatement. We've seen the number of manufacturing job openings go from, 280,000 in the late 2000s all the way up to a million at the end of 2022, and now still sitting steady at 800,000. At the same time, we see labor force participation rate shrinking. And the COVID period obviously played a major role into that, but it had been steadily declining from 66% back in the late 2000s to now in the low 60s. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that's changed strategy? What's different today as opposed to maybe 3 or 4 years ago before COVID, and even further back when times were quote unquote normal?
Okay, very good. So I think everybody on the call can kind of agree that the labor force has changed. It's gotten way more competitive that we've seen probably even in the last 10 years or so. Candidates are not as available as open positions. And we noticed that the candidate preferences and expectations and their priorities have changed greatly. More and more are really prioritizing flexibility and work-life balance over even compensation. So at Niagara, we had to adjust our really change our strategy in order to accommodate that and grow with the changes in the marketplace. We found that about 1 in every 3 candidates declined an opportunity just because of lack of remote opportunities. So we really challenged ourselves to look across the organization and see which positions we could start making more of a remote or even travel based. We started to encourage many of the appropriate managers to start thinking the same thing and allowing more of their teams to be on a remote base. And that just allowed us to have more candidates to take a look at, recruit in different marketplaces, and have different strategies for that piece. We've also seen an increase in our focus to really get away from some of the hard skill set hiring, really based on resume hiring, and focus more on a hiring for a culture fit, potential, and trainability. This allows us to, again, look at more candidates and offer more of a career progression plan, which is another selling feature in today's candidate market. Kind of piggybacking off that too, we're also putting an increased effort in what we call the internal mobility efforts. I would say right now we've discovered that about 70% of employers out there are putting more investment into their own internal recruiting efforts, which also helps to promote room for growth from within, and really kind of look at a different internal skill set that we can hire and promote within, and then replace those people with more of an entry-level skill set into the workplace, and again build a career progression plan for them.
Yeah, I think that what's not like every conversation we have with our customers today, we're competing with remote work for production jobs and for a lot of the factory work. And unfortunately, I can't put an injection molding machine in somebody's basement and have them work from home. So flexible schedules is now a big deal. Brian or Alejandra, can you guys talk a little bit about how maybe you're bringing some of that into the mix for those production roles? Like how are you taking advantage of this new wave of interest to have a more flexible work-life balance and to kind of be able to work on your own terms?
We do have a special schedule for the entry-level roles on the manufacturing side for machine operators and warehouse associates. It's called a 2-2-3. So I don't know if you have heard about it, but we work 2 days, off 2 days, working 3 days, and for the second week, off 2 days, working 2 days, and then off 3 days is also known as continental shift. And this has definitely had an impact with our workers. It's tough to sell, but when they understand it, they love it, because you'll have like a pretty rough week and then you get a pretty calm one. Normally it's like 12-hour shift for supervisors, mechanics, and up it's just Monday to Friday.
Yeah, I think it's key. And we're obviously going to get into like who our competitors for talent are a little bit later on in the presentation. But I think we're all of our eyes are open now to the fact that machining jobs or machine operator jobs or assembler jobs that in the past you were only competing with manufacturing firms. Now you're competing with all types of different firms, from food service to healthcare in some cases. So it's obviously a tougher market in that regard. Alejandra, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you too and what you do there at Niagara? I know your role is a little bit different than Brian's, and tell us what you're focused on.
Sure. I have 10 or so years in talent acquisition, mostly on agencies. And the past 2.5 years, I've been with Niagara and focused on manufacturing and on hourly or entry-level roles, or non-critical, as we call it here. But I guess that's roles that are most critical, because it's all the people that are on the machines and going around the warehouse and basically checking that everything is working appropriately. It's been tough. I joined Niagara in COVID. So we have to redefine all the strategies because nobody wanted to work. There were plenty of incentives going around. So it was a rough start, but here we are today.
Yeah, I would say that those jobs are pretty critical. If we're not making bottles, we're not packaging bottles of water and everything else that you're packaging, we can't get our customers what they need. So you obviously play a big role. You talk about strategy a little bit. Let's talk about that, right? So strategy, I think, differs across skill types, right? For your hourly work, the way you recruit might be a little bit different than how you recruit for mid-skill or certainly for higher skill roles. Tell us a little bit about how, what are some of the main things that you guys are doing different or looking at from a strategy perspective when it comes to recruiting different job types?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, basically, as the slide says, starting with job advertisements for hourly positions, we have to keep it simple. We don't need like a huge description of what they're going to do or if they'll be with this kind of technology or whatever. They just need like a simple language to go straight to the point, shorter, just like attracting the candidate, engaging it, but not like a full technical description like in high skills positions. Um Mostly we're looking for people that, yes, it has previous experience with machine operating or whatever, but we're also open to any kind of profile. So you have to keep it simple, because maybe if I was working at McDonald's, I don't know what a husk injection molding machine is. So we keep it simple and straight to the point. And talking a little bit about the high skills, we do need some technical specific skills. We do need some certifications. So we just have to give them more information. And also it's a little bit difficult to engage them. So we definitely need to show everything that Niagara is offering.
Yeah, I
Also
think
in the
that
advertisement.
for the simplicity, especially for those hourly roles, short is good. Our attention spans, period, are much shorter than they were, say, 20 years ago when job ads first started, and they were long because we could talk about, it was this moment where like, oh, we're not confined by lines in a newspaper anymore, right? So job ads started out being very short, very concise, and I know this because I sold those many years ago. But as things move to online, we have these long, comprehensive job descriptions. What we find, though, is our most successful customers are keeping it short and simple, especially for those types of roles. I applied to McDonald's not long ago because I had heard that they have a best-in-class application process. And sure enough, in like 5 minutes, I had applied to a job. I didn't have to give them too much information, and they reached out to me pretty quickly. So short, I think, and simple, keeping things quick for those hourly roles is important. Talk about applicant resources a little bit, right? Like that's probably going to differ a little bit depending on what you're recruiting for. Tell us a little bit more about how you get candidates.
Yeah, we basically use job boards for the hourly positions. I think that we will talk in a little bit more about Indeed and all that stuff that we use in future slides. But we use job boards. Obviously, we use FactoryFix. We're totally in love with you guys because it makes our life so much easier. We also are starting to use.
We didn't pay her to say that.
This is true.
Totally true. Just some extra credits over there. Just kidding. No, we're also using Handshake. We have in-person job fairs. We do recruit around all the US because we have around 51 plants today. So we're recruiting all around the USA with in-person events or virtual events in different platforms. We're also working with military networks for hourly and mid-skill positions.
That's great. And for the sake of time, I know we don't have a ton of time. Talk a little bit about employment brand and how you're sort of getting those messages out, whether it be over a text message or whether it be phone calls and emails.
Sure. We do make a difference between hourly and high skill, talking a little bit about the scheduling and the flexibility that we have with the position. And on the counterpart, the high skill, we're looking for values and the leadership that we have. But we do love to brand the same way to every position that we have. We are focusing on innovation, on high technology, that we're a place of modern manufacturing where you can grow and develop and be all your life working with Niagara. So basically that's what we're looking for. And we have found that candidates today are looking to have responsive employers. So we love SMS, we love emails, we love everything that can give us like a quick response so we can engage candidates in minute one.
We love SMS here too. Everything in our platform is really built around the quick text messages and automation. On the employment brand piece too, I think the just societal norms have changed and people care more about what they do. What's the impact, right? What impact are they having on the people around them or the world? So our customers, I think all of our customers make stuff. And when they really focus on the impact of what those products are, or how they make those products are on the environment or the people around them, that's where we really start to see things start to resonate. So for companies that are focusing on brand, I can't stress enough the importance on focusing on that impact, that environmental or societal impact of what you do. And I see
Mike, can I jump in for a sec?
Absolutely.
Could you give me the experience from the applicant from in sort of a story, right? So an applicant is going to see the Niagara Bottling post on FactoryFix. Like, how's it going to differ from something else? If they say, I want to apply, like, what's the time? Is it like what you described for McDonald's? Like, kind of walk me through what someone who applies for this job is going to experience from reading about the job to actually getting replied to.
It's a great question. So when a candidate applies, first of all, they're going to see the job, not just in FactoryFix, but they may see that job all across the internet. We do broad distribution to other websites, job boards, and places, including the Creators Connect website. So when students and participants in Women Make America, Heroes Make America, all of the programs that the Manufacturing Institute has running, the first thing they see is that Creators Connect platform. All FactoryFix customers' jobs sit in that platform. So regardless of where a candidate sees a job, it's one click. They apply for that position and we're able to get their information. Typically it's cell phone and email right away. And within 15 minutes, what our system does is we send a text message to those applicants on behalf of our customer. So in Niagara's case, it would say, hey, this is Niagara Bottling. We appreciate that you just applied for this position. We have a couple of questions for you. And so we enable our customers to save and store their preset screening questions into that text flow so that a machine operator on third shift in the middle of the night, maybe they're on break, they decide they're not happy with their current position, they apply to Niagara and that thread starts. Alejandra can then log in the morning into her systems and see that conversation's been started and jump right in. So there's some impact there, not just in getting engagement, but on employment brand, right? I think the opposite side of ghosting, which we've been talking about a lot last few years, candidates apply to jobs and then they never call you back. The opposite end of that was the black hole. And a lot of applicants feel like they apply to jobs and never hear back. And that's not a great experience. And I think that trickles then to the brand, right? And so in Niagara's case with a B2C brand, I might, if I have a bad experience in the application process, when I open up the refrigerator at 7-Eleven, I might decide to drink a different bottle of water than Niagara. So there's impact there, or tell my friends not to apply to those jobs. So that's a little bit about how our process works and how we're using that automation to get conversations started so that there's engagement. And Alejandra, I know you have here for timelines. You have 3 degrees of speed. In no case here does it say move slowly, right? So talk a little bit about the impact, the speed, and how. What are some of the other things you do in addition to FactoryFix that are getting candidates warmed up quickly?
Sure. For hourly roles, we don't have that much time to hire anyone. If a candidate is applying to Niagara, he's also applying to 30 more positions. So time is definitely the first thing that we have to take in consideration. If we can make an offer with the first 24 hours, that's great for us. And even though highly skilled roles have more time, if maybe they apply to 5 instead of 100 jobs, we definitely want to give them like the best experience. So time is the most important thing. Also in checking candidates, we do have a rule to check them in the first 48 hours, to give them the best experience that we can.
Alejandra, did you have to change your HR processes significantly? Because when you think about how you screen candidates, how you do background checks, how you all those sorts of things. Speed isn't usually compatible with those types of processes. So how'd you manage that?
First of all, it starts with the recruiters. We have to check everything as fast as possible to speed the process. As I was telling you, we have this KPI of 48 hours and of overall review. So every recruiter has the 48 hours and the overall review on a top KPI. And after that, we're also pushing hiring managers to prompt feedback. It's one of our main struggles because obviously the hiring manager wants to interview tons of candidates, but maybe because we are far away on a little town, we only have like 3 candidates interested. So we do have to push for feedback to increase the speed. Also, regarding background checks, that's something that it's not entirely on our control, but we also push our providers to speed this up. So normally for an hourly role, we take about 8 to 15 days to get the candidate onboarded.
Yeah, and I would say one of our biggest changes is what a lot of employers out there did is switch to more of a virtual interviewing type of platform, which, some managers jumped right on the bandwagon. Others, we had to kind of coach and sell the benefits a little bit more. But, virtual interviewing allowed us to get in front of a lot of candidates much, much quicker, which is good for candidates because, candidates are not staying on the job market very long. Even out of recent layoffs that we've been reading about, 53% of recent impacted from layoffs have actually found jobs within a month. So, getting the candidates in front of us as quickly as possible benefits them. It allowed us to move much quicker. It actually allowed us to save a lot of money from travel cost and all that coordination piece. So that made an impact across the organization very huge with very limited changes to what we had to do from an HR recruiting process, but by just adding a little technology for video calls similar to this one.
Yeah. Brian, did you see any measurable change in retention when you went to this? Same, less, more?
I would, well, kind of still something that we are tracking. I would say it's allowed us to fill positions a lot quicker. Overall, our turnover has been pretty good throughout the pandemic. Even we measure from 90-day turnover up to year mark and so on and so forth. So it's definitely allowed us to fill positions quicker, but we're still kind of seeing what retention is. Our quality of hire has gone pretty high, so that's been very helpful. But I think I can attribute that to more than just a virtual process. But yeah, we're tracking that.
I think we talked a little bit about too that you're making more hires through referral channels because
Correct.
people are starting to say, "Hey, this is great. I just applied, talked to to a recruiter, got the job pretty quickly. You should join too." And we all know that referrals have the best retention statistics, right? Because there's more reason than just the job to stay. So you guys have that going too, right?
And speed through the interview process is a big part of that. The top rated employers out there are extending offers within 5 days of the last interview. And I read a study that suggested that candidates who've gone through that type of process and received an offer so quickly are 79% more likely to refer their colleagues and their friends for other positions. And that actually helps also with both candidate referrals and internal referrals. Good people know good people, so that's a very lucrative channel from a recruiting standpoint.
Yeah, and I think maybe a topic for the next round of seminars is managing that last mile, which means incorporating the hiring managers and the hiring teams into this philosophy of we need to move quickly.
Yes.
Sometimes that's the biggest battle. We obviously don't have a ton of time for that today, but we'll save that. And next episode, we'll talk about that. Alejandra, is there anything else from a tech standpoint? So technology obviously is helping move the needle. Is there anything notable here? I know we don't have a ton of time, but are there certain tools that your team uses that you think everybody should sort of put an asterisk next to and look into?
Yeah, sure. Like a quick resume, we're using Workday. It's an applicant tracking system, so it definitely saves time. All the whole recruiting cycle can be managed there. We also have Phenom, that is a talent management platform. We have campaigns there. also SMS. It helps with engagement and data analysis. We also can create talent pools there, and of course the data intelligence that it's really, really important for us. We also use FactoryFix again, that it's a recruiting automation platform. This has helped a lot with both hourly and critical roles, because we get the candidates right in front of us with the talent that we need. So it's not just like every guy can apply there. We have manufacturing and top manufacturing experience there. So it's definitely helpful. And with the SMS and the quick response that the automation on FactoryFix offer us, it's definitely a big plus. We also use Indeed, that it's a resume search engine. We mostly use it for posting our positions, also creating campaigns, and for sourcing. We have internal sourcers here, so it definitely helps. LinkedIn for the highly skilled roles, to make connections with candidates that are needed today, or just connecting with people that can be used in the future. And we also have Seek Out, Handshake. We have tons of technology working today with us, but these are like the main things that we work day to day with.
I love that.
Mike, can you help us understand kind of the intersection or the interplay between FactoryFix and Indeed?
Yeah, so FactoryFix distributes jobs to Indeed. So I think, especially for customers that are a little bit cautious of resources, there's no need to duplicate the efforts. There is some added benefit when you are posting on both, because you're going to get more exposure, more people seeing jobs. But Indeed's one of the websites where all jobs that get posted to FactoryFix get distributed to. And I always say too that the value, like the same candidate that applies through Indeed that applies through FactoryFix is more valuable through FactoryFix because of that 15-minute touch point. The average length of time that it takes an employer to get back to an applicant is 3 to 14 days. It's a wide spectrum. Hopefully most people are on the lower end of that spectrum. But in a lot of cases, by the time you've reached out, somebody else has already captured their attention. You know, again, we have these short attention spans, and if you're not engaging people right away, you may lose them. So there's a greater chance that that same applicant, when they apply through FactoryFix, will actually turn into an interview through our system.
Got it.
Mike, what's nice about your system too is that when a candidate applies, I mean, I can go into FactoryFix and search for candidates and all that, but when somebody applies through FactoryFix, not only are they screened specifically and vetted for my position, but I get an email with their profile. So even without looking for or going to the resume comes to me, and we have actually talked to candidates within the same day that they have applied, which, you know, time is money, and it also promotes the candidate experience. So that's been great automation that's helped, I think, both sides of the conversation.
Yeah, I always call those the shoulder taps. I love those because it's a reminder that you might be doing something else, but hey, here's a good candidate to talk to.
Yeah.
Yep. Questions in the room? So Serena, can you give us 1 second? All right, a quick word of the wise. See these big black cubes up here? These are highly, highly sensitive microphones. So if you two are having a quiet conversation, Mike's gonna hear it. All right. So don't talk unless you want everybody on the Zoom to hear it. Yes, right.
Is FactoryFix integrated into the Workday system at Niagara, and how does that work?
It is. We're integrated with Workday. We're integrated with UKG. We're working on building more bridges to applicant tracking systems, but essentially what it does for Niagara is after a candidate completes their screener questions, that candidate's record then gets uploaded into the requisition that they applied for. So there's talk back to make sure that the jobs that are posted live on Workday are also visible and posted through FactoryFix. And when candidates apply and are engaged, they then move through to the Workday system.
Yes.
The stat about extending an offer within 5 days of interview, is that for all roles or production hourly? That seems like a long time to wait to extend a job offer to a production hourly employee.
No, talking about hourly, we tend to make an offer within the first 24 hours.
Other questions? Show of hands in the room, is 36 hours from receipt of application to offer typical? Who does it around that amount of time for production positions?
Application to offer, no way, but application in like to interview, yes.
Interview to
From
offer.
interview, yeah.
Interview to offer, 36 hours?
Less.
Less? Okay. How about application to offer? Less than 5 days,
Sometimes.
less than 2 weeks. About half the room for you guys that can't see, less than 2 weeks. Okay. Mike,
So we'll leave you with this. So I wanted to extend an offer to everybody in the room today. We appreciate you spending time with us. We have a free trial, so everybody can, when you get back to work or whenever you're able to get to it, you go to get.factoryfix.com/free trial. We'll kick off a 2-week free trial for you and give you all the bells and whistles and support that our friends at Niagara get from us, so you can experience it at no cost.
all right. Any final questions? Mike, I got about 6 people saying, can I have those slides? So please do send them to me and I will distribute to the crowd.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you all again and have fun the rest of the day.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.